Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Just wanted to give you a short introduction to explain a bit about what you'll be seeing. You'll have seen from the description and possibly from the trailer I put out a few weeks ago that this video covers our trip to Orkney. In fact, this is the first in a series of videos covering a trip we had to both Orkney and Shetland. We had been talking about visiting the Scottish Northern Isles for a long time, so I'm really pleased we're able to get a week in Orkney and a week on Shetland back in the summer. Just wanted to mention a couple of things. Firstly, it's not a van trip. We decided to use a specialist Scottish tour company and they made all the arrangements for us. So they organised flights, including the flight from Birmingham up to Aberdeen, and then from Aberdeen on to Orkney, and then the flight for the second week from Orkney to Shetland. They also sorted out a number of inter-island flights, particularly to get us around Orkney. There were also a number of ferries we took. They organised all the accommodation and also some brilliant tours with some excellent tour guides who were very knowledgeable, informative and really helpful to make sure we saw as much as we could of all the places we visited. Also wanted to mention that the videos will go on and cover the trips in the order we took them, so you get a good idea of where we got to and the routes we took. One of the other things I want to mention is just how friendly and welcoming the people are. They're fiercely proud of their lifestyle and heritage, and it's clear there is a strong community spirit everywhere you go. It was particularly noticeable on Orkney, where life depends on helping each other, particularly on the smaller islands, and as a result everybody seems to have more than one job. For example, at Westray Airport, the person in charge of air traffic control was also the post lady, and also the fire and rescue team included farmers and the local taxi driver. We had an absolute brilliant time on this trip, and I hope you enjoy seeing more about these rugged, remote and beautiful islands. So until next time, bye for now, bye. Orkney is a group of 70 islands lying about 10 miles north of the Scottish mainland across the Pentland Firth. Around 20 of the islands are inhabited and the total population is around 22,000 people. Most people live on Mainland, the largest island, which has two main towns, Stenness and Kirkwall. Kirkwall is the largest town and is the administrative centre of Orkney. At the heart of the town stands St Magnus Cathedral, founded in 1137. We'll show you around the cathedral later in this video. Orkney is on the same latitude as southern Norway. It has a temperate maritime climate. This is the result of the North Atlantic Drift, which brings warm water from the Gulf Stream northwards. Temperatures range from 4 to 7 degrees C in winter and 12 to 16 degrees C in summer. Winds are a key feature of Orkney weather, and even in the summer there are almost constant breezes. The islands experience nightless summers, known as the summer dim. The islands have been inhabited for at least 8,500 years. There are a number of sites of human dwellings all across Orkney, the earliest of these dating from 3800 BC. Orkney was colonised by the Vikings and was annexed by the Kingdom of Norway in 875. In 1472, the Parliament of Scotland absorbed the earldom of Orkney into the Kingdom of Scotland. This followed the failure to pay a dowry promised to James III of Scotland by King Christian of Denmark, Norway and Sweden for his daughter Margaret. The Orkney flag symbolises their Norwegian and Scottish heritage. We left a very wet Birmingham for the first leg of the trip, which was our flight to Aberdeen. Amazingly, this was virtually the only rain we would see for the whole trip. Here we are, landing at Aberdeen. After just a 40-minute stopover, we're off on our flight to Kirkwall. Just down there on the coast is Banff, and that's where we finished our last van trip. This is the flight path as we landed at Kirkwall. And you already get an idea of some of the amazing scenery across Orkney. Now the adventure begins. The barriers were built between May 1940 and September 1944 by Italian prisoners of war. They link Orkney Mainland to South Ronaldsay via Lambholm, Glimpsholm and Bury. The wrecks in the sea are block ships, which were sunk during World War I to protect the entry routes into Scarpa Flow from the North Sea. Scarpa Flow was the main British naval base in World War II, but the defences from World War I had fallen into disrepair. As a result, on the 14th of October 1939, the German submarine U-47 entered Scarpa Flow through Holme Sound, sinking HMS Royal Oak with a loss of 833 lives. To prevent further attacks, Winston Churchill ordered the construction of permanent barriers. This is the block ship SS Reginald, built in 1878. These wrecks are now popular dive sites. To provide the manpower to build the barriers, around 1,000 Italian POWs were brought to Lambholm and Bury. At the request of the camp priest, it was agreed that 2 Nissen Huts could be used as a chapel. Among the Italians was an artist, Domenico Chiocchetti, who was given the task of transforming the huts. He was assisted by other tradesmen, in particular a blacksmith and a cement worker. Domenico based the painting above the altar on a picture on a prayer card given to him by his mother. The corrugated interior was covered with plasterboard and then painted. A special painting technique is used extensively in the chapel, creating the illusion of architectural features like stone walls, brickwork and vaulted ceilings. The altar and the altar rail were made from concrete left over from the work on the barriers. and the light holders are made from corned beef tins. The font was made from a car exhaust covered in a layer of concrete. In 1958, the Chapel Preservation Committee was set up, and Chiocchetti returned in 1960 to help with the restoration of the chapel. The Stones of Stennes are possibly the oldest henge in the British Isles. The stones are around 5 metres high and are thin slabs with sharply angled tops. The original stone circle consisted of 12 stones, but there are now only 4 standing. The site would have had a ditch surrounded by an earth bank with a single entrance on the north side. The precise purpose of the stones remains unknown, but they are believed to have been a ceremonial and ritual site, possibly celebrating the connection between living and past communities. Just along the road is the Ring of Brodgar. The circle is thought to have been erected between 2500 and 2000 BC. It is the only major henge in the British Isles to be an almost perfect circle. As you can see, these stones are much smaller than those at Stenness, and this ring originally had up to 60 stones, of which only 27 remain standing today. According to legend, this was a religious shrine and possibly a place of ritual. Others believe the ring was built for astronomical observation of the equinox and solstice. Before visiting the main site of Skara Brae, you can look round a fascinating reconstruction of one of the houses.
This is an interpretation. So you take your eyes up to the top of the stone, that is where it ends, and what we're going to do at the village, which we walk to in a minute, we're going to look down into the houses. We're not able to go in the houses, that's a no-no these days. But the roof is put in around about 2003 when this is built. That's the interpretation at the time. Right. And it's wrong. Houses have what's called corbelling, which is where you put a stone and you stack them and eventually come up to a point. Probably too much work to take it right up to a point, but enough that they could have made a frame. They did have access to wood from driftwood, a lot of it coming from North America on the tides across the Atlantic. So maybe a small wooden frame, but they were using flat stones, what we think.
Because wouldn't they have to have gaps for the smoke?
That's a good point, exactly, yes. So they would have had to have some sort of ventilation because there's no windows. They're underground almost. The only entrance and exits into a passage that leads to another house with a big fire, so they would have had to have some sort of ventilation.
But this is great for stopping the wind.
That's exactly. If you look, you've got the fireplace there. This is your bed. I'm stood in the bed right now. Should probably be lying down, not stood up. You've got a great big stone which acts as a radiator. It absorbs heat.
That's your hot water bottle.
That is your hot, perfect, yes, well done. So this is creating heat, it's pushing it back into the bed. There's also these, we know they're farmers, so they've got the big pelts, they probably pack it out with some reeds. We were talking before about how comfortable was it to be a Stone Age person. Probably quite comfortable. And if you think about it, you've got this nice warm bed, you're lying in bed, you've got an alcove there for a flat screen TV.
You watch your football team.
Perfect, yeah. So we think there's quite a few people in these homes. Maybe they're working on shifts and they're not all in the house together, but cosy beds, nice big fire. You can see the pottery.
So would it have been a peat fire? Would it have been peat?
Not by that point, no. But we do find all this pottery, so they are able to make fire. Maybe they are using some sort of peat, but we think peat comes later. It's formed about 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
The walk to the site plots a timeline back through history. Skara Brae was inhabited for several centuries, Archaeologists think that a small community of 50 to 100 people lived here, and 10 structures, mostly houses, remain. The settlement was an inland village beside a freshwater loch. Each house is built from flat stone slabs set into large mounds and linked by covered passageways. All of the houses have the same layout, and each has a stone dresser, 2 box beds, a central hearth and small tanks set into the floor. The settlement was first revealed in 1850 when a severe storm stripped the earth from the site. It's believed the settlement was abandoned around 2500 BC, possibly as a result of the climate becoming colder and wetter. St Magnus Cathedral is the most northerly cathedral in the UK. It was founded in 1137 and is dedicated to St Magnus, Earl of Orkney. His relics remain interred in a pillar of the choir. These sails are an amazing art installation. They are inspired by the legend of Earl of Rognvald's voyage to the Middle East around 1150. The legend says that the longships were pulled onto the beach and the sails were hung in the cathedral to dry. There are over 50 ledger stones which have been moved from the floor to the walls. The masonry uses red sandstone quarried near Kirkwall and yellow sandstone from the island of Ede. It is believed that the masons who worked on the cathedral may also have worked on Durham Cathedral. This is a memorial to the crew of the Royal Oak, which was sunk at Scarpa Flow. The cathedral is also the resting place of Sir John Rae from Stenness. He was a surgeon who worked for the Hudson Bay Company and also an explorer who was responsible for discovering the final link of the Northwest Passage through the Arctic Ocean.